What is the common mistake all these riders are doing? So I've done about 600 private one-on-one cornering sessions so far, and this is the number one mistake I see so many riders make. So first, keep in mind, whenever I do these cornering sessions, they're not for riders that are riding around at a very slow pace. Like if you're riding at a very, very easy pace, then a lot of things really don't matter. Line selection doesn't matter, braking, trail braking, body position especially, like these things simply don't matter if you're riding at a slower pace. But as the pace goes up, more things become more relevant, and they're more important than they are depending on your speed and the lean angle that you're generating. But either way, the common mistake all these riders have is they're not controlling their mid-corner speed. A couple of the riders, they weren't even trail braking. They got on the brakes, they're starting to slow down on the straightaway. Then before they start to tip in, they let go of the brakes and they're saying, I hope this is the right speed to go through this corner. Now, hope is not a technique, so not trail braking at a quicker pace is kind of crazy to me. So think about this. Say you're coming up to a straightaway, you're going whatever speed, say you're going 80, right? And you're coming through a corner, you're like, well, if you don't know what the middle of the corner is, you don't know mid-corner speed, how slow you want to slow down to the mid-corner speed, you're going to slow down, not trail braking, to be like, okay, I'll slow down a lot. I think I have to slow down a whole bunch. Holy crap, slow down to 50. This seems like it's okay. Jump off the brakes, which is in itself a problem because you load and unload the tire. So you jump off the brakes, let go of the brakes and just lean it. Like, okay, I hope this is the right speed. But if the corner tightens up or if you need to slow down more, then you're gonna have to go back to the brakes after you already released them. Well, it'd be way better just to get on the brakes, right? And then just as you start to tip in, you slowly release the brakes. Maybe you add pressure, take away pressure, you just slowly release the brakes and adjust brake pressure to get the bike to slow down and put the bike exactly where you want it. So you want to be the adjustable rider going into the turn. You don't just want to be like, screw it, and take the bike and just hopefully you make it through. Because like I've said before, hope is not a technique. Now when riders do that, so say they start braking here and they get off the brakes, they think they have to be off the brakes before they lean. So that means they're going to get on the whole lot of brakes and then get off the brakes and then lean, right? But if I told you you didn't have to be off the brakes until the middle part of the turn, the slowest point of the turn, if I double your braking distance, well, then you probably won't need as much pressure, will you? So you get on the brakes, right? So when you first roll off the throttle and you get onto the brakes, a lot of people go way too much pressure way too soon, over slowing the turn, which causes them to release the brake and then just take the turn. And a lot of times they're going through the turn like, oh man, I'm going too fast. They're already starting to panic a little bit. And to make things worse, they'd be like, okay, I guess I'll just add a whole lot of lean angle right now, which a couple of the people did in that video clip of those riders. They try to add a whole lot of lean angle to correct their mistake, which is not controlling their mid-corner speed. And sometimes you're going to lean a whole damn lot, which is crazy because the more lean, the less traction you have because the suspension can't work. The suspension doesn't work sideways. It only works up and down. So if there's a rider I'm going behind and say they're going 80, 60 in the middle of the turn and then back up to 80. So at 60 miles per hour, it's going to cause the bike to lean however much. If I go 80, 50, 80, I'll have less mid-corner speed, but that means I have less lean angle. Less lean, less risk. Less lean, the more upright the bike will be, the better the traction will work. The better the tires will work because of suspension. So the better traction you'll have, right? So because of that, because I'm going to sacrifice mid-corner speed, I could actually drive into it quicker. So I could go 90, 50, 90 versus 80, 60, 80, and I will have less time spent on the edge of the tire. I'll have less max lean angle, but I'm overall quicker. And this is the common mistake I see pretty much every time I do a one-on-one cornering session. I follow them, I record them, they follow me, we go back and forth and do a whole bunch of different things. And a lot of people have way more mid-corner speed than I do because they're off the brakes before they lean in. And this is really the problem, unable to control your mid-corner speed. So how do you do that? Well, like I mentioned, you keep the brakes on past tip in, and you keep slowing that bike down in the middle of the turn. So if you're on a tiny little bike like an R3, you don't have a lot of power, right? So you kind of have to maintain a lot of lean angle and a lot of corner speed. But either way, if you have an R3 or R1, I want your mentality to be big bike mentality, which means big powerful bikes do two things well, just like Chris Paris told me about in champ school, right? Big bikes do two things well, accelerate and stop. So you want to use that to your advantage. As upright as you could keep the bike going in, that means you could brake really hard and deep going into the turn. You'll lean for the shortest amount of time in between my fingers, but on a big powerful bike, your goal is to get the bike turned, slow down, turned off the edge of the tire so you can start to accelerate up and out of there, especially for street riding. So for track riding, you want to maintain a lot of roll speed, corner speed as well, because you're on the track and you're trying to go as fast as possible and you're not too worried about having more lean angle because it's the track. But on the street, like I just went riding this past, whenever it was, my last group ride, Saturday, whatever. And I'm following behind my buddy on a 1000cc sport bike, and we're going through off the brake light and just leans the bike into the turn. I'm still on the brake 30 feet deeper into the turn, going into the turn than he is. He has so much lean angle and so much corner speed. I'm like, holy crap, that is so much risk. So overall, we're going the same pace, but every mid-turn, in the middle of the turn, he's going 10 miles per hour quicker than me, which means adding more lean angle than me, which is way more risk and less traction because the suspension doesn't work on uneven pavement because it's a public road. But he's not like flying around because I slow down the bike more. So he has a little bit more mid-corner speed than me, but I slow it down more. I get it turned earlier. I get off the edge earlier. I could get the full throttle if I want to do way sooner, right? And I'm just right behind him coming out of the corner. But how you got through the corner makes a big, big difference. Railing the corner and just blasting really fast through the corner is not the mentality, and that's the mistake people keep on making. What you want to think about is, how do I get this corner over with quickly? How do I get off the edge of the tire as quickly as I can? Especially on a big bike, a 1000cc sport bike, for example, you want to be leaned over as little time as possible. Why? So you could take advantage of the brakes and take advantage of the throttle. Also, think about middle of the turn. If there's a squirrel or a car comes over the line or a deer jumps out in front of you, if I have less mid-corner speed in the middle of the turn, if I'm only leaning 30 degrees and you're going faster mid-turn and you're leaning 40 degrees, if a deer were to jump out in front of you, would you rather swerve or do really hard braking at 40 degrees of lean or 30? Obviously, less lean angle. That'd be a whole lot better. The problem is with all this stuff is it doesn't feel quicker, right? It's going to feel like you're going slower because you could go fast into it and fast out of the corner. But in the middle of the turn, while you're actually taking the corner, you sacrifice mid-corner speed in order to get the bike direction so you can accelerate and use the power of the bike coming out of it. But that doesn't feel faster. And a lot of people, they want to do, body position, all kinds of stuff and look cool for pictures. They want to win Instagram, but they're actually creating more risk and it's overall slower. Are you struggling to become a better rider? Do you want to challenge yourself to go above and beyond the basics? Then MotoJitsu Master Riding Program is for you. Full of drills you could set up on your own. All you need is a parking lot and some cones and a tape measure. Both of these books with all of my drills is also in my MotoJitsu app. Look in the description below for the links to my books and my app and get out there and practice. You're not just being a basic. So if you're leaned over for the whole turn like this, all the way leaned over for a lot of speed on a 1000cc sport bike, you're not taking advantage of the brakes going in and you're not taking advantage of the power coming out. So overall it will be slower. Plus, let's talk about body position for a second, because this is something I always talk about all the damn time. People ask me questions about. If I'm going into a corner at 80, I slow down to 50 and then back up to 80. So say 50 miles per hour in the middle of the turn is only making me lean 40 degrees because that's what the type of turn is, okay? So where do you have max lean angle? In the middle of the turn. So if I'm going 80, 50, 80, okay? At 50 miles per hour through this turn, if I'm only leaning 40 degrees, is body position relevant? No, it's not, because it's only leaning 40 degrees. Why would I hang off the bike to lean 38 degrees? I'm not even leaning that far. So a lot of people are using body position and trying to hang off the bike, and they say, well, I want to be hang off to make the bike lean less. Okay, where do you think you will have the max lean angle for any corner? Well, your max lean angle will be somewhere around the slowest point of the turn. If your slowest point of the turn is 20 miles per hour and you have 10 degrees of lean, there's no point in body position, right? Same example, now let's say I come into that turn at 100 miles per hour and I still slow down to 50, back up to 100 miles per hour. 50 miles per hour through that turn is only making me lean the bike 40 degrees. It doesn't matter how quickly you go in or out. What's the speed for the slowest point of the turn? That will determine how much lean angle, and how much lean angle will determine if you need body or not. Now, if you're going 80, 70, 80, and you're going through that corner at 70 miles per hour, well, the bike's going to be leaned a whole lot more, so then you might need body position. So ironically, people that don't know how to use the brakes or trail brake that are railing the corner, they're overall slower and way more risky, and they actually do need body position because they're going so fast through the turn. Where I could go 90, 50, 90, be overall quicker, less time spent on the edge of the tire, less max lean angle, and I don't need body position because I'm sacrificing corner speed to get the bike turned and full power going the other way. You see what I'm saying? So these are the things that I talk about that just come up over and over and over again whenever I'm following and recording people, and whenever I have one-on-one cornering sessions or group rides. And I tell people, the one who could control their mid-corner speed, you're going to feel so much safer. You'll be much more in control of the bike, and you won't feel like you're guessing, or you won't be freaked out so much. Because think about this. Let's say here's the middle of the turn, right? I'm going through like a U-shaped left-handed turn. Here's the middle of that turn. As I get onto the brakes, if I get on the brakes too hard, too quickly, I'm going to overslow. So say I get on the brakes lightly. Now, if I'm not getting to where I want it to go, the bike's like, it's not slowing down, it's still kind of going straight. Well, I could add brake pressure, and the bike will come in a little bit. Let's say I add too much and the bike's going too quickly. I could release it. So here's the middle of the turn, and I'm going like this with the brake pressure. This is obviously an example, right? But I'm adjusting my brake pressure to get that bike exactly where I want it to go. And this is also where I'm looking going into every turn. I'm looking towards the middle of the turn. Slowing down. I want to get too close. So maybe there's a squirrel right there. So I release brake pressure, let the bike go up, because a slowing down motorcycle will tighten the line. An accelerating motorcycle will want to go straight. So I use the brakes going into the turn to my advantage. Pretty much somewhere near around the slowest point of the turn, I'm going to be off the brakes completely. But once I know I'm going to get to that point, then I turn my head, get the bike slowed and pointed and up and the other way. Think about that. So you look at every professional racer's data when you're looking at their brake pressure. It says they get on the brakes. When they start to tip in, it's not a perfect straight line releasing the brake. They get on the brakes and it's like this. Their brake is adjustable as they go into the turn, because maybe they go too much, they need to release. Maybe it's not enough, they need to add. Maybe there's something right there. There's a pile of gravel, so you need to adjust brake pressure to get the thing. So you want to be the adjustable rider to go into it and keep on slowing down and adjusting where you need to be and how close you want to be to the line, or how slow you want to be at the slowest point, whatever it is. But to not do any of that stuff and say, screw it, I think this is enough, let go of the brakes and just freaking lean it, that's crazy. And that's the common mistake so many people make. They're not trail braking, they're not controlling their middle of the corner speed. And now this is just more emphasized when you start talking about downhill, right? When you're going downhill, your slowest point is going to be deeper into the turn, and you will use those brakes way longer going into the turn. Go ask people, what do you feel more comfortable doing? What do you like more, going up the mountain or going down the mountain? So many people don't like going down because they don't know how to control mid-corner speed, because when they get off the brakes, it's like accelerating. So they get off the brakes too early versus keeping that brake longer, keep on slowing that bike down to get it pointed, which is ironic because it's the exact same thing you do in a car. There's no difference. So say you're going down the mountain in a car, you're braking. Right before you start to turn the wheel, you let go of the brake and then just turn it. We're going to gain a lot of speed, right? And you're going to have to go back to the brakes in the middle of the turn because you're going too fast, because releasing the brake is like accelerating when you're going down. So what do you do in a car? You just stay on the brakes all the way down into that turn, right? Until the car actually gets turned where you want it to go, then you can ease off the brakes and get back on the throttle. It's the same thing with the bike. People like going uphill more because they're going up, gravity is slowing down, so they get on the brakes, they start to lean, they get off the brakes early, and then now they don't want to overslow or keep on slowing down. So now you have to crack open the throttle to maintain your speed a lot longer before you can actually get it pointed to accelerate. So a lot of people like going uphill versus downhill. Why? Because they simply can't control the brakes. And a lot of these examples of the clips I showed you, we're pretty much going downhill for a lot of them, and that's where people make the mistakes. The last couple group rides I did, we went to a really tight technical road called Lyons Valley and Lawson Valley, and I told everybody, like, look, these turns are really slow. I want you to keep that brake light on all the way until the middle of the turn. So you're braking 20%. As you start to lean, you release it a little bit, but keep that brake pressure. Don't, be able to control your mid-corner speed. Don't go wide. It's not about going fast through the corner. It's about getting the corner over with. So you get the thing to slow down, you get it pointed, and once the bike is facing the right direction, you can accelerate harder and earlier because you're at less max lean angle. You could get the full throttle sooner if you want to. So that's the common mistake so many people make that I see almost every time I do a one-on-one cornering session. People have no idea how to trail brake, what the slowest point of the turn is, where their eyes should be looking. They're not taking advantage of going straight. Because if the road is going like this, if I could just go straight, I'm going to go straight. Why? I could brake at 100% or I could go throttle at 100%. And if a deer jumps out in front of me, I'd rather have 0 lean angle versus 50 degrees of lean angle. So a lot of people just follow the road like they're a car. They don't realize we're on a tiny little narrow bike. Make the road what you want it. I don't care if the road is doing this. I'm going to go straight if I want to. Because overall, if something were to happen, like I said, even if I'm going through a corner, if I can make the corner straighter, like say this is the middle of the turn, if I start on the outside, I open up the radius. If I exit on the outside, I open up the radius, right? So if I'm going left, white line, yellow line, white line, I'm trying to make it as straight as I possibly can. I'll have less lean angle. I'll spend less time on the edge of the tire. If something were to happen, I could brake harder or accelerate harder if I needed to because I have less max lean, and it's going to be more efficient. I'm not going to be wasting so much energy. There's so many benefits to it, right? But just following the road and just, whatever, it's like you're being very inefficient. You're not taking advantage of anything, and you're spending too much time on the edge of the tire. So these are all the things that I go over with the one-on-one cornering sessions that I've done. Like I said, almost 600 so far. It takes 2 to 4 hours per person. I charge absolutely nothing for doing this. And then all the group rides, I see that as well. I'm like, how is your mid-corner speed? When they're following behind me, I tell people, if my brake light goes on and you're right behind me, your brake light goes on. Watch how long I hold that brake light on. And we get down with the ride, I'm like, do you see what I mean? Like I'm on the brakes way deep into that turn until the middle of the turn. Well, okay, I kept on slowing down, totally felt in control, but then we get the turn over with quicker. We could get the throttle way sooner than I ever thought. Like, yes, because there's sacrifice in mid-corner speed. Nobody cares if you rail the corner and go 80 through a turn. I'd rather go 60 through the turn, get this thing slowed, pointed off the edge of the tire so I could put down the power, especially street riding. It's uncontrolled environment. I don't want to be having a whole lot of damn lean angle, right? I could take advantage of the brakes and the throttle, especially on big, powerful sport bikes, for example. Take advantage of the brakes, take advantage of the throttle, sacrifice mid-corner speed in order to get the bike direction, less time spent on the edge of the tire, less max lean, more upright for better control if you have to swerve, more upright for more brakes, more throttle if you need to, and just overall safer because you have less lean. So that's the biggest mistake I see people make all the damn time. So hopefully this helps out, and think about this type of stuff the next time you go for a ride, especially going downhill, right? You need way more brake pressure and for longer distance when you're going down. And just keep in mind, the slowest point of the turn is in the middle of the turn somewhere. It's not at the beginning. So if you're braking super hard and jumping off the brakes, well, just know the braking zone includes the first half of the turn. You can still be on the brakes to the halfway point. You're slowly releasing the brakes as you start to lean. And since the braking distance just doubled, you don't need as much pressure. So just like they say in Champ School, lighter brake pressure, but longer distance. Control the mid-corner speed. That's the rider who's going to be in the most control overall.